I kind of wanted to bring up cast members.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Cast members, because Disney prides themselves,
Yes.
and rightfully so. For
Mhm.
most of the time, I have a phenomenal experience with cast members at Disney, you know. But Disney prides themselves in that Disney difference. So, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? They call it the Disney difference.
Yes.
Now, going to Knott's, how
Sorry
would
about
you
that.
compare? And then we'll bring George into the conversation. I just want to ask you real quick. How
Yes.
was the comparison in regards to the Disney cast in regard to the
Mhm.
Knott's cast? Was there a difference? Was there
This is
that Disney difference, or was it even worse or better, or what? Like,
this is a great question, because there has been a lot of talk about cast, right?
right,
Most recently, specifically regarding pay and regarding what they have to go through and all these other things. I think it's a very fascinating conversation. And I don't mean to belabor it, but let me take you through a couple of my thoughts of what's going through my head right now. Because going to Knott's, is it the Disney quality? Gonna be honest, not. It's not, right? But hey, you know what? They are friendly, and they do a pretty good job. Inconsistent, yes, for sure. But people are, because of the laid back attitude, and because people are kind of getting in there at a value. People are a little bit, they're not as demanding to them. And I think in response, I think cast at Knott's Berry Farm are a little bit more. I don't know. They're a little bit laid back themselves, and there's maybe less pressure put on them in terms of the operational realities that maybe Disney has to contend with on a daily basis, right? And when you get people that are happy at Knott's, I mean, they're really happy. They're really happy to see you, and they have a really good attitude about them. Yeah, like some of the Disney standards in terms of look and some of the things that they do to let's say, I don't want to say mitigate personality, but just try to put a little bit later on a little bit, right, to
yeah,
complement the show. And Knott's doesn't really do that. So it's a little bit different. But hey, everybody was pretty friendly. Everybody was pretty nice. And
cool.
you ask a question, they were pretty well informed, right?
Cool.
The level of service, yes, it's not Disney, but at the same time, when you're looking at Disney now, it's very interesting, right? I think Disneyland's cast members have really taken a decline or taken a hit when it comes to the quality we might expect from them, and the friendliness and the level of service than in years prior. I think they really have declined. I'm sorry, cast members. I just gotta point this out, but it's not entirely their fault, right? I think here's what happened. When the pandy happened, right? When it shut everything down, everything like that, and Disney was forced to fire, as many cast members as they required just to stay afloat, and all these kind of things, right? When you have cast members who are long tenured there, who are working day in, day out, you do have a certain level of people who are experienced at various levels, maybe a few months and maybe a few years in, and they all kind of work together for, like, say, a department or an attraction, right? Let's say Space Mountain. Space Mountain, everybody works there. Everybody works there. They've been working there for a little while. It's an attraction that requires high efficiency, so they kind of get their bearings on other roles and then are incorporated into Space Mountain, right? So somebody going there has got to be working for the company for a number of months. They get into this kind of workflow with other people who have been there for years, and everybody kind of maintains level of standard and quality, because as far as the group dynamic goes, everybody's there, working there for maybe months to years, and everybody keeps themselves up, right? Everybody kind of maintains this level of quality amongst themselves. Well, when the pandy happened and you give 412 days and stop right there on a dime, but you want to come back with that attraction up, a lot of those guys that they have brought back or maybe have hired don't have that experience, right? They don't have that kind of culture that has manifested for so long and has kind of maintained this level of quality. So when everybody gets in there, everybody's kind of rusty, right? Or they just haven't been working there at all. And that culture, I think that cultural shift, that cultural dynamic has really taken, had a number on the level of quality that we might have expected from cast members in years prior. Everybody's kind of at this depressed level, and it kind of shows in how they treat the guest and that quality of service.
Yeah, no, you make some fantastic points. I'm going to respond, but first I want to let George chime in here. George, you haven't been to Knott's, so you can't make that comparison, but how would you say the cast members from Walt Disney World, because that you have experienced Walt Disney World and Disneyland, how would you say your experience has been with that?
I could honestly say that from both coasts, that the cast members are really not that different in comparison. However, I do concur with Dre was saying, prior to the pandy as to opposed to now, that you could definitely see, I don't want to say in every cast member, but you could definitely see some of the quality of what we are known as in the Disney community, of what is the standard for a typical cast member, of how it kind of dips compared to prior years as to what it is now, unfortunately. But I do feel that it's because, again, what Dre was saying as far as with maybe not enough cast members coming back that was originally let go, or new cast members that may have not had the over aesthetics of the training to what goes into the to being a cast member. I think maybe in time it'll get better. I mean, if they can kind of, get everyone on that same page to, bring all the cast members back to the level that we're used to. But I think as of right now, just because everything in a company standpoint is so shaken, that it's basically we're at mid-level right now.
Yes, and I would concur with both of you fellas. And here's the thing, and a lot of content creators, what they do is they sort of pander. Not sort of, they really do pander. They'll say every cast member is just amazing. And look, if you're a cast member and you're watching this, that's not true. I'm sure you do your job fantastic. I'm sure you can name at least on one hand a few of your colleagues that aren't pulling their weight, right?
I think you're right, OG. I think but it's a tragic reality, right? It's just
reality.
That's any workplace, right? Disney is no different. And while it's in the berm, while it's they create this kind of this kind of like this brand godliness for themselves, right? We're the highest quality that we can possibly get. The reality is they're people like you and I. Right? And they have their bad days, they have their good days. And when it came to reopening a park like Disneyland, or even Walt Disney World for that matter, I mean, they had to get who they could, right? And some of those people, maybe you would have turned them away, a couple of years ago, but they don't have the luxury right now, right? They have a certain minimum number of roles, and they had to fill them. And look, maybe that quality does get better, and maybe those people that maybe you can name on one hand, maybe they do increase their level of quality, or maybe they're let go or whatever. But it's you're seeing that a lot more. It's just the reality.
Yeah, it is, and it's really sad because I can honestly say it became that of the whole Walt Disney Company, not even just for the cast members, because we all looked at Disney as this workable machine that will never that would never break down, that would never need an oil tone or anything of that matter, where it's like now, as you mentioned, Dre, it's the reality that, companies can fall hard, and Disney, along with a lot of other companies during the pandy, got hit by it.
They got hit hard. I mean, they took billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of loss, and yes, that manifests itself on a kind of a profit or income sheet, right? A quarterly earnings report, but it also manifests itself in other ways that maybe you don't think of. And I think one of the cast, the issue with cast members is one of them. I got to be honest, on my most recent trip, I just saw some things I just never thought I would have expected, and the culture has definitely changed.
At Disneyland.
Yeah, at Disneyland, yeah. There are cultural traditions that have been maintained ever since Walt's day, and they've passed those things down to new cast members and stuff. And and everybody kind of keeps to that level of quality and standard. I mean, yes, it has slipped from the time of the 1960s, but it's still remained relatively high, especially for that caliber of employment. But that when that break happened and everybody had to come back, who's there to pass on those traditions? Who's there to keep those standards high? Everybody's just trying to get by and kind of fill each day's worth of guests and so forth. And because of that, we've kind of really experienced it. For example, like Space Mountain, right? Everybody talks about the lack of cast members and what effects that might have, and they go, well, a lot of attractions are breaking down more regular than they do. And you kind of think, well, how can that be? How can that happen, right? And the shortage of roles is very interesting and how that affects operations. For example, like at Space Mountain, right? When we walked up to get into the queue of Space Mountain, like there's supposed to be, I think, like 2 or 3 people there manning those entrances to fulfill, disability access service, or now would be Genie Plus, and just normal ride entry, right? When we walked up, nobody was there. The one person that they had signed to that role had walked out of their post. It was just unfathomable. It was just unthinkable that could happen, but that actually happened. And they had one cast member who was, if you know the entrance to Space Mountain, you know that you enter on a lower level, you go up a ramp, and then that's when you actually enter the attraction. But you can actually see that entrance from that overhead position. That's where a cast member was watching that position while another cast member was just gone from their post. I couldn't fathom it before. I mean, that's just a very uncharacteristic move by Disney. Usually those positions are manned at all times. But then you get on the attraction, right? And if you know Space Mountain operations, they're tight, right? That dispatch window is very, very short, and it has to be that rigid because of the amount of rockets they have on Space Mountain. You could actually get to a point where if you don't load them as efficiently as possible, they could back up and cascade and bring the entire attraction down. So it's got to be super tight, right? Well, some of the cast members that would be there to help with that loading just simply aren't there. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's usually like, hey, get up to the gates. They want you kind of right there, right? So that you can just, enter as soon as the last person exits. And some of those cast members just weren't there to facilitate that. And you could see them trying, they were getting backed up a lot more than I had previously experienced or seen. And like I said, if you back up enough, that attraction will come down. So that's just one way where the shortage of cast members and maybe the lack of standards affect operations and can ruin somebody's day by Space Mountain being down unnecessarily.
Now, can I ask you, Dre, to your knowledge of what you have experienced, do you feel that, and I can't believe I'm actually asking this question,
sure,
of course, with Disney and cast members, but here we go. Do you think it's more not having enough cast members, or do you think it's more of sheer laziness upon the cast members who are already hired, and Disney has their hands tied of saying, well, we need the help, but yet we can't find the help?
I think it's a number of issues. I think the lack of long-term cast members who have been there, who can kind of pass these traditions down and maintain this level of quality, I think hurts it a lot. I think, honestly, it's kind of take what you can get kind of attitude that Disney kind of has to have, right? They have to have Disneyland open. They have to have these attractions manned and cast members staffed. And, when you don't have that kind of pick of the litter, so to speak, you kind of have to take who you can get, and that contributes to it too. And once you get to a group dynamic, right, where everybody might not be, let's say, at the top of their game, so to speak, that kind of depresses everybody, and everybody kind of gets complacent, right? Everybody's like, well, they're not really going above and beyond, why should I, kind of thing, right? I think that's really affected the Disneyland Resort operation and the quality that we might have previously expected. And look, this is not to say that cast members don't have a lot on their plate right now, right? I think they do, more than at any time that I can really think of. They aren't just, people who have to facilitate the daily operations, but also they have to take on a new product that the company wants to debut in the form of Disney Plus and figure this whole thing out and help guests, navigate that. They also have to, make sure that everybody's mask is on when they go inside. And that's kind of one of the things that's interesting about Knott's Disneyland, right? At Disneyland, we know that you have to have a mask on over your face whenever you go into an indoor experience, attraction, shop, or indoor facility, right? Knott's Berry Farm, nope. And it's kind of funny because Knott's Berry Farm, the way they do it, and I understand, there are different opinions about all this, and people could have their disagreements, but it just kind of felt normal there at Knott's because they didn't enforce those policies. If you want to wear a mask, you can, obviously. But they just, it's just, hey, we're open, it
was more so of what each person was comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly. And it just felt normal. It just felt like you're, just going to a theme park pre-pandemic. Whereas Disneyland, they're rigid. And I think that kind of rigid operational philosophy that they have to maintain, it does take a toll on people who might not be cut out for that, right? And I think we're seeing that. And it's not to say that cast members don't try their best, not to say that they don't have a lot on their plate right now. They absolutely do. But as a guest, I'm just saying, I'm just providing feedback, honest feedback. We are starting to experience it a little bit.
Well, and here I had a little bit of an experience. I was doing some Christmas shopping a few weeks back over at Downtown Disney.
Yeah.
Over at Downtown Disney. And I was at the World of Disney store. And I bought a ton of shit that day. I mean, I had arms full of stuff, right? And
I get it.
We're a Disney family here, so I was doing some shopping, but here's the thing. I'm in line, and it's like the line that I was in at World of Disney was like at least 25, 30 people deep. Okay. The line was snaking around and it was long. Okay. Oof. I'm looking behind the counter and look, I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way because I don't know what the situation is. Okay. There's a line of all these people snaking around, right? I'm sitting in and holding all this stuff. I'm wanting to give Disney my money. They must have, I swear to God, they must have had 6 or 7 cast members behind the counter. Okay. 2 of them were actually on registers. Okay.
What?
2 of them were on registers. The rest of them were having side conversations about, I don't know what. They were doing other things. The rest of them were doing everything else but ring people up. Now you have a line that's snaking. You think that like some of these cast members would be like, hey, maybe we should like jump on a register and move the line a little bit.
Yeah.
Nothing. It was 2 cast members, and even 2 cast members, you guys, I'm being generous because one of the cast members was scanning stuff, but I don't even know if he was ringing up. It might have been like inventory stuff or like returns or something else going on. Oh he was off to the side doing scans. I don't know what he was doing, but there was really, I mean, for all intents and purposes, probably just one. Now, here's the thing. I don't know what that is. Like George mentioned, is it laziness? I don't know. Maybe all those people just didn't want to ring up and they're like, screw it. I'm going to stay here and just kick it. It could be that. I don't know. Or it could be a directive from management. Hey, we only want you and you on the registers. The rest of you do this, this, and this. It could be that as well. So I don't want to blame the cast members because it could be a manager directive that, we only want 2 people on the registers right now. I don't know.
Maybe.
But the fact that World of Disney, next to the Emporium on Main Street, one of the most popular shopping spots at the resort. I'm at a register. There's a line behind me snaking through the freaking store, and there's 2 people that are actually working and the registers, and the rest of them are all in the background just kind of doing whatever. And I even told the guy in front of me, I'm like, hey, is this crazy? I mean, am I nuts? Like, what's going on? Like, we haven't moved in like 20 minutes. And the guy's like, yeah. And the guy in front of me ended up taking his stuff and going to another register. I don't know how successful he was in that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I just stuck with it because if I waited this long already, I'm just might as well stick it out.
Anyone that was willing to stand in line with me, it's like after this experience, when we're all done, meet me at Carl's Jr. Fries and sodas for everybody.
Yes, Carl's.
Right.
Yeah,
Carl's, man.
It was ridiculous, and like this is the thing, and this isn't just Disney. To be fair, this isn't just Disney. I go to my local Target and I experience a lot of similar stuff. There's lines through the store, and they have two people ringing up. Like this is the most, like, as a business from a business perspective, this is literally the most important aspect of your business.
Absolutely.
Taking people's money.
Absolutely. And that's where in a way Disney kind of has that cross ties, because compared to Target, I mean, you have, how could I actually put this, where you're putting out more money at this resort. So again, because you are spending, money on merchandise, money on food, money to even enter in a park, not even knowing if you're going to get reservations for it.
Yeah.
You would think automatically that, okay, if it was a management decision, it's like, okay, we need to step up and give these people what they want to give us, which is essentially the almighty dollar.
I don't understand it, George. I don't understand it. I was in line probably half an hour, 40 minutes. And that's fine.
Crazy.
Yeah, and that's fine. Whatever. I'll wait. It was Christmas shopping. I got to do it sometime, so I'll just wait.
See, it's one thing if you're waiting in a long line where you see the cast members or workers, employees doing their best. You have one person bagging while the other person is ringing up. And it's like, okay, it's just that time of year. But when you're physically standing in a line where you see lane 3, 4, 5, and 6 completely empty, but you have 5 or 6 employees or cast members or what have you standing around, it just makes you question it, whether it's them doing it deliberate, but you're standing there with the mindset of saying, okay, there's more cast members back there, there's more registers, let's get this line moving.
Right, exactly. And that was one of the dark spots in that trip. And now we actually ended up eating, I guess you would say, brunch. I don't know. At Storytellers over at the Grand Cali, we ended up having some brunch or lunch, whatever you want to call it. And I had the opposite experience there. Our waitress, I think her name, and I hope I'm not getting it wrong, her name was Esmeralda, I believe, and she was phenomenal. Top tier, Disney difference, nailed it, A+, 100%. And she was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So it's weird because at Disney, I'm seeing a lot of this lately where it's like you get like that Disney difference, A+ kind of customer service, and then you're getting like Target. It's not the greatest. So.
Can I ask you this? And I don't want to come across prejudice or anything, but if that's her name, Esmeralda, was she more seasoned as far as
like, is she older? Is that
yeah. Would she seem that she was more seasoned to being a cast member?
Yeah, she was older. I don't know how long she's been there, but she was probably my mom's age, and she was phenomenal. I don't know how long she's been with Disney.
That's what makes me wonder if it's because, again, Disney is tied to depending on, hey, we can get the help, let's just take it. Where when you have like these and I'm going to probably sound horrible for saying this, out of high schooler type of people trying to get their first job, and it's like, oh, my parents are making me get a job, to learn responsibility, and it's like, okay, well, they're learning the ropes, but Disney already has a caliber of their cast members that you should already know the ropes.
Yeah, no, Esmeralda knew the ropes. She was seasoned. At least she came off as seasoned. I like I said, I don't know her tenure, but she was very professional, extremely courteous. Everything about her was top notch. The World of Disney experience was terrible, and again, I can't fault the cast members. I don't know if they were told, because I have a job too. I don't just do YouTube. I have a 9-to-5 job as well. And sometimes a lot of decisions that my job makes at a corporate level and tells me what to do, I don't agree with it. I think it's bad customer service. they might just be doing what their boss told them. So that's fair.
Right.
But whatever they decided or their boss decided that day was not a good call. Was not a good call at all. It was bad customer service to have a line snaking through the store and 2 people ringing up. One of them, I wasn't even sure they were ringing up, to be honest with you. Like I said, they could be scanning returns or something because he seemed to kind of be doing his own thing a little bit. It was a mess. It was a total mess. And we're in line giving you our money. We're wanting to give you our money. Let us give you our money. You know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sorry about the background noise.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. I hopefully it's not drowning everybody out there. I really do apologize, guys.
No, it's fine.
But no, look, yes, exactly, right? I mean, you do have, and what we're experiencing right now is just an inconsistency, like you said, right? You have people who are great, who go out of their way, especially for like restaurant roles. I've noticed are, they're still up there, right? And I think it's appropriate. The incentive structure is a little bit different, right? Everybody's kind of, wanting those tips at the end of the day. They kind of have to, right? But we're seeing roles where historically we've had great levels of service, and it's just they've really fallen short. Man, that experience at World of Disney, that is nuts. I mean, when you talk about the square footage and price per square foot, how much they make on some of these retail locations at Disneyland Resort, like the Emporium, for example. I mean, that's one of the most profitable per square foot location in the world. You'd want that to be really, really dialed in there, and I would think World of Disney has got to be. I mean, it's up there, right? And you just have to have people there that are willing to collect. I think that's why Disney's kind of changing their philosophy when it comes to all this. We're seeing like mobile checkout, right? Has anybody seen this at the parks at all, or heard about it?
I've seen it. I saw it actually that day at Downtown Disney, the mobile checkout. I've done mobile ordering for food, and I'll get into that in a second with you guys. But I'll let you go on with your point, Dre. I saw the signage for mobile checkout at the store, but I didn't use it.
Yeah, and the idea there is just reduce the level, the amount of cast members that you might require to facilitate that many transactions, but also too, I mean, you don't have to have the quickest cast members either, right? You don't have to have, cast members who are moving at a pretty good clip there, because largely what they're doing is just checking over purchases that you have made before you walk out the actual door. And I think that's why we're kind of seeing that. I think Disney themselves have noticed it's like, we can go one or two ways about this. Obviously, training and more time and everything like that. But we really have to find solutions now in order to capitalize. This time at this time, right? So it's just we're just seeing the kind of culture kind of be depressed a little bit, and I think that's running through in the various roles. And I think the one thing that they might need is someone like a cultural management team or something like that, right? Where they kind of just go in and really take maybe a couple of weeks or something with long-time tenured cast members who kind of know what great operations and great customer service and great that Disney difference actually looks like, and kind of imbues that onto the cast members there at that facility or in that role, or so to speak, for a couple of weeks, just to kind of get that culture, just kind of get that mindset, that philosophy restored, and then they move on to somewhere else. I think that would really go far in terms of imbuing those traditions, those values that we visit these parks for.
Yeah, no, I agree, Dre. I agree. And the point of our videos is to help Disney. We're trying to help. If you're watching and you work there, we're only trying to help. Like, we want you to succeed. So absolutely. This is constructive feedback, and Dre, that's a great proposal. I think something like that would have huge mileage, like I've even heard reports, it kind of touched upon the mobile food thing, where like people are using the mobile food app and waiting in a 30-minute line for their mobile order while the stand-up line is a walk-up. Well, the whole selling point of mobile food order is to have the convenience, and you're creating it's more convenient not to do it.
Yes.